Welcome everyone to episode 44 of the Circle Back podcast. The show where three great friends get together and talk about video games. I'm Dan LaMarca. As always, I'm joined by
Dan Dufrenoy
and
Shelby White.
All right. This is a new thing, guys. We're going to incorporate Shelby into every episode now.
We have the three amigos.
Yeah, this has always been the three amigos, but we made the decision where he's going to be front-facing part of the crew now.
Look at that beautiful face.
Three musketeers.
Look at that beautiful face.
This is the dawn of a new era.
I can't wait. I'm ready. Because it's been a year, Dan.
Yeah, it has.
Over a year.
This is our first episode that's past a year because we didn't record one on our exact year date.
Do you remember the anniversary?
Yeah, October 27th.
Yeah.
The day. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
You didn't get me anything.
it's been. What'd you get me, huh?
Your friendship.
So we have two big games to talk about. One much bigger than the other, but I'm gonna get mine out of the way because I know you two have not played this one. Deltarune. Deltarune. So, Undertale is one of my favorite games of all time. It's Dan's as well.
It's also one of my favorite games of all time. I'm being silly. It is one of my favorite games of all time for sure.
Yeah. I adore the game. Its creator, Toby Fox, took like 7 or 8 years to make Undertale. And he surprised everyone by, on October 30th, he put up a tweet that said it's really important for anyone that loves Undertale to come back and check this Twitter 24 hours from now or whatever. So everyone's like, what the hell? Then he puts up, on Halloween morning, he puts up a tweet that says like, there's a survey that is going to basically, it's important in shaping the future of Undertale. There's a survey I need you guys to take. So it says deltarune.com, which not really tricky to find out that's like an anagram, right? Is that the right word, anagram?
Anagram, yeah.
So go to deltarune.com. It's this shady website that's like, download the survey, whatever. It goes to like, your antivirus software is like, what the hell are you doing? Like, we're not downloading this. So check through
That's actually my story. My
Yeah.
virus software wouldn't let me download the game.
Dan can't even download the game. We'll get him to play it somehow. So you download the survey, and basically it walks you through, it asks you a couple questions, and it walks you through like a character creator, where all the heads look just like Frisk, the main guy from the first game. You're like, what the hell is going on? And so you're creating this character, then it's asking you like questions about the character. It's like, if you could give them one gift, what would it be? Like kindness or love or whatever. So you're making this character, and then at the end it's like, your character's been deleted. You can't choose who you are in this world or something like that. And then it like cuts to black, and it flips to a character, again, looking much like Frisk, laying in bed, same bedroom as Undertale. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? So I'm not going to talk too much about this game. I finished it. There are a couple important things that I have to say about it, even though it was fun to figure out on my own. I can't really describe it at all without spoiling a couple small things. Number one, Toby Fox says this is Chapter 1. So when you first play this game, you don't know what the hell it is. It could be a fucking demo. It could be a full game. Like, I had no idea what it really was. Once you get to the end, it says this concludes Chapter 1. Like, look for more at some point in the future, pretty much. So that's a good thing to know. Another thing is, in a classic Undertale way, it messes with your preconceptions and what you expect. It is in many ways a sequel to Undertale, let's just say. It does a lot of things differently in a really interesting way, and I think it stands alone on its own if you want to experience it that way. You won't get a lot of the stuff because there are returning characters.
So you've had to have played Undertale to understand...
To understand some of this.
Okay.
I think if you just played this game, you would really enjoy it nonetheless.
Okay.
But I definitely, anyone that wants to play it would say, please play Undertale
Has
first.
Toby Fox said this is a direct sequel, or he's been super
So I know
quiet
what he
about it?
said about it, and I don't know if I should say, but
Okay. All right.
It's related in some way,
Okay.
and it's fantastic. It's amazing.
Shub, have you played Undertale?
I have
Any
not.
chance?
I've seen it.
We need to
plenty of times, but I haven't gotten to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely.
It's
do
probably
that
on.
whenever
It's got to be
yeah.
on Switch at this point.
I think it's
It
on
actually just came out on
PlayStation.
Switch.
Did it?
Oh, did it?
There you go.
It came out on Switch this year.
And I think they did PS4 as well. Right?
You gotta play it, dude.
Yeah. There's a
So,
couple.
so,
Speaking
so
of coming to Switch, did you see they're putting Metroid on Switch?
Metroid?
Yeah, they're
No way.
they're doing 3
Like the original.
NES titles, and it was Metroid and 2 other ones. I forgot what they were. I'd have to
Cool.
look it up.
Very cool.
But I just saw that, and they're coming like next week or something.
Oh, awesome.
They're adding them to the service?
They're adding them to
Online
the service. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How long did it take you to beat?
Deltarune's a
Deltarune.
short game. Because it's only first chapter, I would assume. I think it took me 3 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Gotta
Um,
figure out the computer thing though.
the original Undertale, what I would say for you, Shelb, if you do end up playing it, is so one playthrough is probably 6 to 8 hours, right? You would say?
Yeah. Well, it also depends.
But
how
is
you
it
play
one of those ones you replay it for different?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of complicated things around that.
Uh-huh.
Like what you choose to do in your playthrough matters on subsequent playthroughs.
Like the
in an
game
interesting
actually
way.
takes your your choices like
From previous playthroughs into consideration.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that's
It's
cool.
a very unique game, and that's a major reason why it's one of my favorite games
Yeah.
ever.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, we might talk about this later, but you know how fandom can be around certain things. The Undertale fandom is like the absolute worst.
Oh, really?
It's so bad. Like Toby Fox, when he released Deltarune, he said, like, I would appreciate it if you guys didn't post anything or say anything about it for at least 24 hours. Just let people experience it on their own, whatever. And anyone that did anything was like attacked by, like, you know what I mean? Like anyone that put up a video on their website or a thing on their website was like, all of a sudden thousands of people were like screaming at this person.
Which is
and
so
it's like,
crazy because if you understand what the
the
actual
point!
game of
Yeah,
Undertale is about,
And in a game like that, you would want people to like talk about it, you know.
when
But I get it.
What Dan says is like, a lot of the themes of Undertale are like anti-completionist and anti-fandom, like in a major way. So it's interesting that it's surrounded by
the
this
fans
sort of
that love it so much
It's so weird.
did
yeah.
not get the message
It's
at
such
all.
a complicated thing.
It's-
But that is pretty much all I want to say about Deltarune. I will say, the combat is different.
okay.
I shouldn't say combat. The gameplay is different. It has similar roots, but they tweak it in a really, really interesting way. Like when you get to the first encounter, you're like, "What the fuck?"
Cool.
It's so cool.
Cool.
So again, it's only been out a week now, and I don't know how much subversion there is outside of the game, how much of the metagame there is. I haven't heard much about it. I don't know if subsequent playthroughs change anything or whatever. But yeah, I love my experience with it. I think it's an excellent game. So.
You have to teach me how to override my computer.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, or I'm just gonna give you my laptop or something because you gotta play it. Oh, I should have mentioned it's completely free.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that helps.
Yeah. So I don't know why he did it, but he did it. So
God bless you, Toby Fox.
we're all happy about it. But anyway, that's Deltarune. We're gonna get into the meat and potatoes of this episode. We all three of us have been playing Red Dead Redemption 2.
If you're listening and not watching,
Yes,
Dan just put on a cowboy hat.
I'm trying to do it nonchalantly, boys.
I mean, the audio listeners don't know that.
Yeah.
Before we say anything, I want to remind people about the labor practices that were reported at Rockstar.
Right, it's
and
important that we talk about this for sure.
yeah, anytime we talk about this game, I want to talk about it. I would say go back to our previous episode where we talked all about it. We're not going to get too much in depth about it, but always worth considering what's going on behind the scenes.
Right, there's a price to pay for everything. So
Right.
Well, making sure that people are aware of that this is a thing that's happening. You know?
Yes. And I must say also, in playing this game, I couldn't help but think once in a while about the amount of detail and about the certain things and just be like, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Somebody spent their whole
somebody
like,
lost
no,
a lot of,
motherfuckers.
yeah, seriously.
You
No,
know what
for
I mean?
sure.
Like, I
Yeah.
couldn't help but kind of be tinged a little bit by this.
Exactly.
So we're gonna jump into it. I have a list of notes here, but I just kind of want to go around the three of us individually and just give specific impressions, where you're at with the game,
Okay.
initial thoughts so far.
All right, show.
I can start. So, I have no idea where I'm at in the game as far as like
You're in
how
chapter
far
3,
into
though?
it. I'm in chapter 3, which is I forget what it's called. Something. I just moved from the one place that we were after we came down the mountain, and now we're in the other place
Right, Rhodes,
to the south.
I think it's called Rhodes. I think.
Rhodes is the town you can go into, but the place you're at is something.
Okay.
I can't.
Oh, like the name of the camp?
Yeah, the name of the camp.
Oh,
I don't remember what it is.
names.
But
yeah, it's in Lemoyne. It's in the south.
yeah, it's in
right?
Lemoyne. It's in that south area, the bayous and all that stuff. And my save file says I'm about 30% in. I would say 29:30. I believe that's where I last saved it. But I'm having a blast with it so far.
Yeah.
You know, like first impression, like looking at it, I was a little iffy in the beginning, and then I got into it, and then it's just like one of those like, all right, I don't really like this part, but then I'm like, but I have to know what happens next. You know, like you just keep on playing it, and as far as we were just saying, like those people who spent countless hours working, like they did a hell of a job with the intuitiveness of this freaking game.
So, definitely agree. I do want to be careful of how we talk about that sort of stuff because I don't want to make it appear as if we're justifying that.
Right.
Oh,
saying
yeah.
like they did such a great job,
Right,
like
and then,
it was all worth it. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? That's
right,
certainly
exactly.
not what we're saying. But we are going to. I mean, there are things to admire about this game, and there are things that are very impressive about this game, and we're going to be talking about that without any.
Mhm. But always remember, there is.
Yes, it's always something to
There's a
consider.
human
So I just don't. You know,
element in
I never want to
sacrifice.
come across like. Man,
Oh, this game's so great.
I'm
Keep-
so
keep it
glad.
up.
Thank
I'm
God
so
they did it.
glad all
Yeah,
these
no,
people
no.
put in that time.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I'm saying? But anyway, I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know how far did you have you
So I'm
gotten?
actually,
You said you
I'm
were
right
about the
around
same
you.
spot,
I
right?
think I'm
Yeah.
at 33%. You can look and see. I'm at about 33%.
Yeah.
Same thing. I'm at the tail end of chapter
Yeah.
3, and So
I mean, I think it's and you're much further, right?
Yeah,
You've gotten-
yeah. I am. I'm actually in the epilogue.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah.
All right.
Dan's
that's-
about to beat the game.
Yeah.
Friends.
Jeez.
I was so upset. I'm probably an hour from beating the game.
my-
Oh, are you really?
Last night I was playing and I knew I was close. I could tell I was getting close,
Yeah.
and I was like, I just want to finish it. And I kept going, and I was like, you know what? I can't rush through it. I'm like, I don't know. I might just last. I'm gonna
savor
end up
it.
hating the end.
It's like,
So I'm at the epilogue. So yeah, it's things that I definitely want to. You know, I have a list of notes here, but I'll just say right off the bat, what I feel about this game is that it's messy and inconsistent, and I think it's one of the best games of the year. But I think you can. I think the way that it's messy can be really off-putting sometimes because every single person is going to have different complaints about this game, and my complaints are with the inconsistency in the writing and the inconsistency. Like you see them. So for the most part, I shouldn't even say for the most part.
I just want to say I agree with you because I have the same qualms with some of the stuff.
It's a
So-
very
Yeah.
complex sort of.
In a lot of this game, I don't even want to say for the most part. In parts of this game, you forget it's a Rockstar game and you're impressed because Rockstar has a history of terrible characters and awful writing.
Yeah.
And I know these are some of people's favorite games of all time, but in my opinion, I have not been impressed by a Rockstar game since the original Red Dead Redemption, and upon going back to that game in recent years, not that impressive.
There's a lot of schlocky.
Yeah, there's a
sort
lot of bad stuff, and a lot of shitty writing, and a lot of tropes, and a lot of, not so good stuff. So, I was impressed with this game in many ways, and I would say the writing and the character work is probably like my chief impressive moment. But there are some really bad ones, and there are some really eye-rolly, what are you guys doing? How can it be this inconsistent? Like, it's nuts. I don't know if you guys feel
One thing, I actually just noticed something in the writing, and I don't know if it comes out to something, because it seems like that's how the whole game works, like something happens for a reason, but when you first go into that southern town, you go and you...
You're talking about roads?
Yeah, when you first go into the town, or move to the south, and then you go help out the officers, go catch those guys on the train, and you're like, oh, my name is Arthur Callahan, I'm not Arthur Morgan, I'm Arthur Callahan, and then you guys wind up becoming deputies and stuff. Later on, when you meet the Grays on their plantation, he straight up says, my name's Arthur Morgan. And I'm like, well, what are they doing? Is he trying to now he's
Right,
saying two different
yeah.
names for the same person, and
So,
you're wearing the deputy badge at this point. Or I don't even know if you have it yet. If you play it some ways, because one thing, and I don't want to take away from what I was just saying, but every single person has a different experience with this game, and I think that's unbelievably amazing with how huge and storyline driven it could be.
Agreed. Yeah. And I want to let you say your piece, but what I do want to say to add on to that in particular is one of my most favorite things about this game is that the order that you do things in completely changes the context of the dialogue.
Oh, yes.
And it is so impressive every time. I'm impressed every time.
And seamless.
When they make comments like, you do a mission and then it's like, you'll be talking as you're riding in for the next mission, and they're like, and Arthur's like, I don't know if I should go back there. I just did this. And it's like, I could have done this first.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's so impressive. And where it gets even more impressive is when it happens based on non-story things. When it happens with just interactions with people, and it's completely context sensitive. And that's why it's like, at the when I first started playing this game, I was like, it's a very impressive game, but I don't know if I like it.
Mm-hmm.
And by where I am now, I know I like it a lot. And it's still an impressive game, but I almost was ready to say, like, I'm more impressed by it than actually liking it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've gotten to a certain point where I'm not on that side, but...
I think, like, so you were saying, like, those sort of things, like, even just, you know, when you're riding a horse, and if you go up ahead and, you know, you start, you know, you hear the person behind you, it's a lot dimmer, and then you get closer, you hear a lot, like, those little technical things, amazing, really, really great. I think, you know, the open world, Rockstar rocks that, you know, you can just go, you can see these crazy things. I was riding my horse one time, and I was just riding open plains, and there was, like, an area where there was, like, this, like, decapitated body hanging from, like, a rope.
So you ran into that too?
And I was like,
the serial killer thing going on?
What the hell is like going on? Like things like that. So yes, I agree. The open world, technically brilliant and amazing. I agree with you, Dan, in the fact that, you know, the stories is very serious, much more serious than, you know, the original Red Dead. Even the original Red Dead, you had characters that were over the top and you know, ridiculous. This is taking a much more serious, much more realistic tone, and I appreciate that. What I appreciate even more is that they went for the prequel route. Because you know what happens. Red Dead, the original, spoilers. You know that Dutch throws himself off a cliff. Yeah. You know that, you know, Bill dies. You know that John Marston dies. You know that his wife dies. Yeah. You know, eventually after. And you know that his son, you know, follows the same sort of path.
Because he killed.
Right. So you know that it doesn't end happy for anybody.
Any of these guys.
So there is a sense of foreboding that I think is a really, really... It makes me want to play more, like you said, Shelby, just constantly wanting to keep seeing what happens.
Yeah.
Because you get to know these characters. It's a long game. I'm only 33% or something like that. It's a long, you know, trudge through the mud, but you do get to know the characters, and you do get to empathize and relate and care. Having said that, though, my biggest qualm is the game is so big and so expansive, and they give you so many options of how to be. You know, you can be, you know, this illusion. They give you a choice, but it's an illusion of choice in that, you know, you can be walking through a town, and, you know, you'll find someone, you'll see, you know, a homeless vet, and, you know, you can either, you know, ignore him, fight him, or you can talk to him and be a good guy. So you have the ability to, you know, be a good guy in this game. There are those moments where, you know, there's a lady whose horse died and she needs a ride home. And it gives you this choice to, okay, you know, redeem yourself. Like, you're a gang member, but, you know, you're not such a bad guy. But then you do the next mission and you're just killing people. You're just, you know, there's like, you're robbing people.
Yes.
And I think this is what Dan was trying to say before with the writing and stuff like that. Because I noticed the same thing in a sense where you go out of your way and they give you that meter of like you can be a good guy. You're in the blue. You're a good guy meter, and then you'll go on a mission. Like, you could do 50 good things in a row and then go on a mission where you're just a dick.
Exactly.
You know, like, and then it seems weird, but it still rolls at the same time.
I think so, but at the same time, for me, you know, You know, this actually happened to me. I was riding my horse through a town, and some guy was so drunk he actually fell in front of my horse. I accidentally killed him, and the whole town was like, put a bounty on my head, and you know, like
it's like when you slice a chicken in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what all those chickens are going after you. No,
but it's like things like that. But I just think, in a way, the game's too big for its own good.
Yeah.
It's this open world that says, "Hey, explore and do whatever you want." But at the same time, they're trying to tell a linear story within that open world, and I think it's clashing just a little bit for me.
What I want to say for that is two things. One is this is the problem with open world games in general, because you'll have optional side quests, and unless you're Spider-Man and all you can do is good, you have some that are good, some that are bad, and then the story drives you in a certain direction. So that's number one. Number two is where you're at in the story. I know you haven't seen much of what I'm talking about, but I am completely flipped on what you're saying based on how the main narrative goes.
Okay.
And I agree with you. If you asked me 33%, I would be thinking the same way, where I'm like, I'm frustrated that everyone acts like I'm a good guy, and then I go out and kill this guy because he's, you know, Herr Strauss says he owes money. You know, like, it just doesn't make any sense. They do a really good job, and again, I'm not going to ruin anything, but they do a good job of, this is the life that this man knows, and he starts slowly realizing, and when I say slowly, I mean fucking slowly, because it takes a long time, but he's slowly realizing, and like, what have we been doing? And that's kind of the main thrust of the story. It's Dutch.
I mean, it is Red Dead Redemption.
But it's
right?
starting...
Redemption in there,
the basic themes of the story, once you guys get a little deeper into it, are Dutch is losing touch with his, like, moral code, and people are starting to question him. And then at the same time, you have Arthur, who is starting to have a different outlook on life than he's had in his whole life, because he's meeting all these different people and going through good experiences and being like, I don't know if this is my life.
Okay.
And it's really impressive, because I agree with you 100%. Where you guys are at, it's like that ludonarrative dissonance is like brutal. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, come on.
But in the same respect, so awesome.
Yeah.
Do you think, in a way, you know, I know we're very passionate about our games, and, you know, we try to see them all the way through. Do you think, to other people playing this game, and I've talked to people that have played this game that have actually given up this game, do you think it's too long to the punchline? Do you think, like, the fact that I've already probably put in about 30 hours of this game, and I feel like I'm at this plateau where I'm just like, okay, I'm looting, I'm shooting.
I still feel like I'm in the beginning of the game.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I think that's a turnoff for people?
They will lose people because of it. But sticking with it and it taking its time makes it that much more believable and enjoyable. Because you see the entire transition. You see the inception of the idea, and then you see it slowly creeping into his mind more and more, and then you see the culmination of it. And I think it's incredibly told. That's what I'm saying, is like,
That's why you told me to beat it before the podcast.
So what I told him to do is beat Chapter 3 before the podcast, because the end of Chapter 3 is such an incredible moment, and then the parts leading up after it just continue to, like, spiral and do these crazy things, which I won't talk about, obviously. But I am super happy with the way they did it, and
How
I'm
many
glad
chapters
they
are
didn't do
there?
it early.
Sorry to interrupt you.
There's 6 chapters and then an epilogue.
Okay.
And yeah, that's what I'll say. Something I want to talk about, we talked a little bit about, like, these random encounters, like, not even strangers, but the random things that'll happen. And the thing that impresses me about that part of the game is that, first of all, they're all handcrafted, they're all different. You're not coming across the same thing over and over again. That's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. The part of it that's really cool is one of them may be guy caught in a bear trap, help him. He says thank you. He's on his way, that's it. One of them might be, like you said, horse fell on a lady. You helped her, got her out, gave her a ride into town. Another one might be a full quest line that you meet this person. Like, it's just so... it does such a good job at, like, keeping you on the hook of, like, you don't really know what's going to happen in this situation. I think that they do such a good job with that. And I don't want to give away all of our experiences with those.
But no, I love those.
Yeah,
those are
cool.
one thing that I'm absolutely... Because before going into this, before I even got the game, because I didn't get it on day one, I heard somebody talking about it saying the traveling sucks. They were like, you travel so much and it's just so terrible and long and boring, and I turn on cinematic mode and I do all this stuff. I've yet to run into a part, maybe because I'm only a third of the way through, I've yet to run into a part where I've seen that, because when I've had to travel a long distance, I've run into those things. Like a horse fell on a lady or something like that.
You would have missed it if fast travel.
And sometimes, I don't always, like, they give you things to do along it. Sometimes I don't pick up people because, like, I'll look at this guy and be like, no, you're gonna fuck me over. You look like
have you been robbed
you know,
yet?
like, yeah, and then like if a lady falls over, it's like she could be hiding a gun under that skirt. I have no idea, but oh, whatever, I'll do it. And I haven't run into anything bad yet. Knock on wood. But
I've been robbed.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like I feel there's a couple of times where I'm just gonna be like, no, this guy's shady as fuck.
I have one guy hiding in the bushes, and he goes like, I need help, and then I go over there, and then he just
no. See, if I don't see them, I'm not going in there. Like I've heard my favorite one. I just did this yesterday. Have you run into a KKK meeting? They're amazing. I've walked and I just hear it going off, and I see the cross go up on fire, and I was like, I have to walk into the middle of this. I was like, what's going on? Oh my gosh. And I see that none of them have guns, so I was like, all right, I'll put my guns away, and I'm gonna walk in there and see what's up. And I just walked in, and it was like whatever. It said greet. It wasn't greet, but whatever the prompt was. And they were like, oh man, who is this guy? And then all of a sudden the guy catches fire from the cross and like starts burning, and they're like, this is your fault. And some guy in a black KKK suit comes up and tries to punch me, and I was like, ducked him and dropped him real quick. And I was like, that was awesome. That was so satisfying.
This is a perfect time to say my experience with the exact same mission, because it's totally different. And it's one of these random things. I came across it. And I snuck up in the bushes, and I was just watching. And what happened for me is the guy went to light it, and immediately he caught on fire.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And his friends like ran over to try to put him out, and I just went in, killed every single clan member there. Nobody said a word to me, and I was just on my way. I looted the main guy's body, and it gave you like a note that like helps you get to another, like you can basically go on these like series of little missions to like not take down the clan, but like kill some clan members.
Whoa, little Wolfenstein action.
Yeah, it was cool. It was really cool.
I thought it was awesome because they were just in the middle of the daylight, and I was like, what's going on?
Yeah, mine was at night.
This is cool.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was.
But I love these little side missions, and I will say the intuitiveness of the characters at your camp are what I marvel the most, because they'll just walk up to you and be like, "Oh man, that shit was crazy that we just did." You know, like, that was nuts. But it's not like a regular conversation. Like they just walk up to you and say it.
Yeah.
And you can turn and face them, and then they walk away after a sentence or two. You know, and I think those are remarkable.
And I will say, for the most part, most of the dialogue and most of the things that you learn about your fellow campmates at the camp are fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the characterization that's done there. I don't know if you guys are looking in Arthur's journal, but the writing
Arthur's
there
journal's amazing.
So incredible.
That's like one of my highest favorite things.
But I love it because it's so. A lot of people had complaints that it was inconsistent with Arthur as a character based on his actions, but it's not at all. If you like, and especially as the game goes on, you realize that Arthur is like, he may not be like the most eloquent guy, but he's thoughtful. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
He's a poet.
But you see that in his interactions because he'll be like actually thinking about something differently, and then he's not good at talking about it, but he'll write it beautifully. You know what I'm saying? It's so consistent with that character to me. I love it. I think it's one of the coolest things.
I was talking to someone who hasn't even read the journal, like, at all. I'm like,
that's one of my favorite parts.
I've only looked at it a couple times when I like inspect something and he takes out and draws.
Yeah,
I
haven't
read it. It's so good.
But I did say the character Sadie,
Sadie Adler,
like I'm expecting her to be a bigger character because she's awesome.
Yeah.
I just did a mission with her.
Yeah, you going to town?
Yeah, you like going to town, and she shoots people. She's all angry, wants to kill Bill. And but she says that. She's like, oh, I'd like to get a look at your journal sometime or something like that. It's like quick little quip, and he's like, yeah, no. However he says it, but I thought that was cool.
Yeah, something we didn't say that's pretty obvious that we should say is that the game is just gorgeous. Like,
oh yeah, the lighting, just like everything about it.
Have you guys seen a thunderstorm yet?
Oh yeah, holy moly!
Cool. It's nuts.
The trees start going on fire and stuff.
But you just when you're riding across the plains and you see,
and you hear it. Like I was playing in the dark in my room and like complete quiet, and it sounded like thunder was booming and beautiful. Cool. Like it was
the sound design and
the music too.
The music, oh my god!
The music is actually the one perfect thing I'd say. Like the music is just so
not like cliche spaghetti western.
Yeah,
crap,
no, there's no-
They
like,
do
it's
a couple.
good.
They
It's
do a
good.
couple of vocal tracks, like after
Mm.
story beats and stuff that are really
Cool.
good. Yeah,
Cool.
it's excellent.
Great.
The thing I will say is it's the main story is not very well paced overall. Like I said, you guys are just about to get to one of the high points of the story, and then the ending I like a lot. But there's a lot of fluff in the middle. There's a lot of fluff in the beginning. Honestly,
it's a long trudge.
Well, I know they didn't have this. Well, I don't know if they did, but they didn't have this game specifically in mind when they were creating Red Dead Redemption. And then to think like, what happens to this character that he's not even mentioned? He's gone. Like nothing about him. Does he ride off into the sunset like a friggin' cliche movie, or does he just do something? And that's something that keeps popping up in my mind, and I'm like, well, like what happens to him? Like how is this going to end out?
And that's like,
and I'm sure that he has a satisfying ending. It's something that keeps popping up in my head every time I get to a new chapter.
I'm with you. For me, that's the motivation to go on. Where every time I'm just like,
I mean, we're story driven.
Well, that's true. That's what we're into anyway. But like that's for me, that's the motivation. Where like there's been so many moments where I'm just like, I gotta go fish. I gotta go ride into town and pick something.
Hunting and fishing are one of my favorite things to do.
this is the funniest thing.
Love them.
'Cause I hate that. I don't
Really?
do that. And that is another huge plus to me for this game is that it has so many systems, and it only makes you do all of them once just to learn them.
Well, that's true.
And then it never makes you do it again.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's incredible.
But you can
I'm
if you
also
want.
a degenerate
Yeah, but that's what I'm
gambler.
saying.
I am a
Yeah. Oh,
yeah?
degenerate
Playing
gambler.
poker?
in the
Yeah, is
game.
that-
Like it's bad. And like I won't leave a poker table till I make everybody else lose their money. Like, I'll be there for 3 days.
But that is a huge plus in my book for this game because like I don't like hunting. I don't like fishing. Just straight up, I didn't do them. I didn't get any legendaries except for the Hosea quest.
The one,
you guys did, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I just didn't do any of that. The stuff that I did like was the like stranger missions all over the place and the like story based, like when you find certain people or you'll hear tips in town and stuff like little stuff like that. There were just some really interesting stories in there and I think that's because I don't particularly like the combat in this game.
Technically, like the actual controls, I think are kind of
It's
rough.
janky.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think it's great.
Yeah.
But I don't. Also, when I think about it, I don't know how I would improve it personally. So
It's very similar to the last game, from what I
it shouldn't have
remember.
much of a difference.
Just
Double
improved
X,
in it,
you know.
and like the lock-on's pretty like great, except
it's totally
for-
serviceable, but
Yeah.
I will not go out of my way to be like, let me engage in a side quest that's all about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's me personally, but I love that it allows you to pick and choose what you want.
Yeah.
The core stuff, the health and stamina cores and stuff, just don't put that in the
Sucks.
game. There's just no reason to have
Leave
it.
And it's so damn small
Yeah.
that you're like,
It really
you
is.
can't even see it, and you're like, this
And it's
fucking
white
sucks.
on gray.
Yeah, which
the
is
core.
horrible.
Even just if you're underweight, you lose stamina quicker, like things like that, and then you have to like.
Oh, I did
Yeah.
read that,
True.
the
If
underweight
you-
stuff. And
if
it's like,
you had-
what do I have to do? I can only eat stew once a day.
Exactly, you have to legit eat like every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's I don't know, just
But what I will say, even with that, you're not really losing that much if you're underweight. Like
no.
I
but-
don't. I would
haven't
go.
been-
I would go 10 real game hours without
Yeah,
eating.
yeah.
And be fine. You know what I mean? It's like it's not that big a deal. It's just why even put it? Like, what is this benefiting us?
Even just, like,
it's
shaving.
I just want to.
Shit, I like that because I like.
What do you guys
doing-
look like?
Oh,
Well,
pomade, baby, right through the hair.
pomade hair, clean shaven.
Yeah.
Oh no way.
Oh yeah.
So for a long time, I wanted to grow out.
Double
That's you though. That's
blue
the
crested
pomade hair
suit,
clean.
you know, just like
Sequence on the
Yeah,
side.
Exactly.
For
I'm
the
like
longest
I'm
time,
Prince in the West.
I wanted to just have a huge mustache. And so I was clean shaven except for a big mustache, and it was awesome. But then eventually I was like, I just gotta grow out the full beard. So I have a huge like Bushman beard, like down to his like.
Oh yeah, it goes that way.
Oh yeah, he has a huge,
I got
huge
burly beard, clean shaven head.
Nice.
Hey, there you
Completely.
go.
And it still looks good with the hat and everything.
That's awesome.
Which I have to say something about the hat. one of my favorite things. That it's just so silly, but when you get shot and it like falls off and you just like walk out of there, yeah, I just killed everybody, and then you go and you see your hat on the ground, and you pick it up, and put it on, and go jump on your horse. You're like, this is the best Clint Eastwood simulator ever.
I love when you have a bunch of bodies and there's a bunch of hats on the ground, and you like pick one up and just knock it off your head as you put it on. Do you ever do that? Like to put on the hat, he doesn't take off the old one, he just goes like knocks it off. And I just had him do that over and over again one time, like just knocking it off.
Oh, it's fantastic.
It is things like that where even just, and I feel like people, like even, I don't know, a lot of people complain about this, even like looting and going through stuff. Like, I don't know, I don't mind that. I like the sort of...
I like the looting because it's in a lot of games. They have that in a lot of games. But the only problem is you can't even go around and loot everybody because then somebody fucking sees you and they're a witness to a crime.
I love it.
It's, you're so quick to be like criminally charged in this game.
And everything.
That's the one thing I would say. The thing with the horse, I'm sorry. The thing that you said with the horse, in the beginning of the game, until I got the hang of it, I don't know how many times I like rounded a corner on a road and there's a stagecoach here and you like run into it and then all of a sudden they're shooting you. And yeah, so you'll kill them and then you'll be wanted for murder.
Exactly.
Like,
There's a thing early on in the game where you ride into town on a stagecoach with whoever. I think you like bringing the girls there or whatever into Valentine.
Yeah.
And they leave you there and you don't have your horse. And you're just there. And I'm like, well, what the fuck do I do now? And I went and I picked up instead of going back to the camp, I went and picked up a bounty to go get a guy. And I was like, well, I don't have my horse. And I just saw one lying on the side of the road just there. And I was like, all right, let me jump on this. Immediately, I made it 5 feet before a guy comes out and starts shooting at me. I was like, I don't have my horse. This guy's shooting at me. And this is like right after tutorial where I was kind of like not so into it right away. And I was like, I can't even steal a horse.
Yeah, no,
What kind of cowboy world
you can't
is
even
this?
accidentally like...
No, I didn't even make it 5 feet.
saying.
He jumped out of a window and like started shooting at me.
I love that it holds you accountable for all your shit.
Yeah. It's really
But I
cool.
hate that the game is janky and sometimes you accidentally hit somebody. There's a big city in this game and you can't ride your horse through it because you'll be...
No, there's so many times where I've tried to like talk to somebody. I'll be like, oh, let me Z target. It's not Z targeting, but it's like L trigger. Because I have it on Xbox, so it's...
Oh, okay.
They ran out of the PS4 ones when I bought it. So I put it like the trigger and I like go to talk to him and I press the wrong button. I shoot him in the face. And I'm like, now I gotta run.
One thing I will say is I learned pretty quickly that L1, I use L1 exclusively to take out my gun. I never I never use L2
holster,
R2.
Unholster, yeah.
I just unholster and then aim if I want to shoot because I was, I never shot anybody, but I've aimed a gun at somebody and been like,
I actually not the same thing.
That's
mad at
Where it's just like you want to talk to someone, you hit L2,
and even
because that menu system, it's such a great idea, but it's fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's so
it's
much.
huge.
But it's so
the amount of
no, I'm saying the hold L2 and then it says greet,
and then
call
you have
out
your
whatever.
You're trying to take out a freaking piece of rope and then you take out, your shotgun.
Sometimes I try and go up and pet my horse. There's another horse at the camp where like you could go on, and I try to go up to the horse and I go to pet him, but I do something else like slap him on the ass and I get kicked in the face. There's so many.
I saw a GIF that was that where a guy went over to pet his horse and he punched the horse in the face, and then the horse turned and kicked him right in the head.
That's remarkable.
But yeah, little shit like that is a huge part of this game for sure.
But there have been several times where I'm cracking up to myself. I'm like, I wish I was recording that.
It is
that
funny.
was so stupid. But it's so funny. Like there was one little glitch I had the other day. I'm just walking down the middle of town, and I guess a stagecoach had been in the middle and then moved, but all the bottles that were on the stagecoach stayed in the middle of the road for some reason as the stagecoach left, and I was like, well, this is a weird glitch. And I'm like riding around, and I was like, this is super cool. I wonder if I could ride up and like take them, and then they disappeared, and I was like, But I thought it was cool, and it wasn't like one of those like, oh, this game sucks, like it's glitching. And I was like, this is interesting.
Yeah, I do want to get into some of my negative thoughts about it.
Yes, yeah, definitely. As much fun as we've been having with the game.
Honestly, it's so interesting because this game I've been waiting for since the original Red Dead. I think you both know I'm such a big fan of the original. Having replayed the original recently and realizing the sloggy parts and then playing this, it's so weird how like my expectations have been in such check. And like I had so many complex feelings on this game. I'm not sure if I love it. I definitely don't hate it. I definitely like it.
But you don't know how much you like it.
But it's not... Yeah.
I am really genuinely curious, once you get a little bit further on and see where the story's actually headed, if you'll have a change of heart. Maybe you won't. I did, and because it almost has like these kind of games in particular have like the Mad Men problem, where it's like Mad Men is a great show about a bad man that is a piece of shit and whatever, and 50% of people that watch the show want to be Don Draper because they don't understand what it's about. So when you make a cowboy game like this, a lot of people are like, man, it's so fucking cool. I'm robbing these trains, I'm killing people, and it's like, you don't fucking get it. In the first
like
game,
Undertale.
well, in the first game, you understood it because a lot of the game was about that. Because
and it was laid out for you immediately.
Right, like,
you know,
you're trying to be a good guy, do the right thing. Right.
But then you weren't, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, because this game has the nuance that the first game was missing, and especially as you get a little bit further in, they do some interesting things with the story, and I really like where it goes. But the bad things I want to talk about, the number one thing is, I mentioned it earlier, the inconsistency in the writing. So, an example that I wrote down because I think it's a complete microcosm of what I'm talking about is there are, and this is a very minor spoiler for a very minor side quest, but there's these two prisoners just outside of Rhodes that are chained up to each other. And they're like, you find them in the woods, and they're like, please, man, like, we can't go into town. There's bounty posters in there. Like, we can't do anything. Can you rip down the 5 wanted posters that are in town, or whatever? Rip down the wanted posters, and it's 5 out of 5 or whatever. And then the other guy's like, yeah, man, and if you could just get food, like, we haven't been able to go into town because we're wanted or whatever. And so I'm like, all right, I'll rip down the posters for these guys. They seem nice enough. It's a black guy and a white guy. The black guy is named Mr. White, and the white guy is named Mr. Black. And it's like, so I'll get to, the interesting part is their interaction is silly and over the top because they're like, we hate each other, but really we like each other.
This is the Defiant ones with Sidney Poitier and Tony Curtis.
But, so the reason it's so...
It's like legitimate, that's the movie. No,
Yeah,
that's
I know.
Yeah.
But the reason it's so bonkers to me is like, we fucking get it. Like, you don't have to name them Mr. Black and Mr. White. You idiots. Like, whoever wrote this, it's like, how fucking stupid do you think
like
we
trying
are?
to talk to
Like, just write the story about them where they learn to get along, even though they're so different, and write a good story
because
about
then
it,
you're
and
turning
then
it
that's
into
fine.
some sort of, like, charade sort of thing.
Now it's over the top and fucking...
And it loses its...
blunt trauma.
Right, it loses its...
Were they wearing black and white? Like,
yeah.
Now, I ran into 2 people, but they were...
There are a couple things.
Okay, because I legit ran into 2 prisoners that were breaking rocks.
Yeah, that's a different one. I
was like, I wonder if I stopped them before they made it to the woods. When you were saying that,
there is stuff like that for sure, but this is not one of those.
Yeah.
But it ended up being an interesting story with them because you meet up with them a couple of times and their interaction changes a little bit and it's pretty interesting. But they're named Mr. White and Mr. Black, and it's just so fucking stupid. Because it's really like an insult to us that are actually trying to experience your story, and it's like, you guys are doing a good job, and then you're doing this.
Yeah,
I'll give you another one. I had, in another town that you guys haven't been to yet, I met a man at a party, and he said, come down. You know, I basically, he was like choking, and I saved him, and he was like, please come down to my store anytime. Like, I want to talk to you. So I went there. His name's Algernon Wasp, right? And he's like a snooty, like, white guy with a mustache. And he tasks you with getting him a couple of different kinds of flowers from the wild. So you're getting flowers for Algernon. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you're not clever. Stop. Like, that's not clever. It's just not. It's just bad writing.
that is on the
To
nose.
think that you're fucking clever. Like, it's not good. Like, you're literally getting flowers for a man named Algernon. It's like, come on, dude. Like,
Did you run into the archaeologist in the
Yes.
first town? I thought that was cool.
Wait,
and
is she the one with the dinosaur bones?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've legit like gone out, or what is she, a paleontologist? I guess?
Paleontologist, yeah.
So I've gone out and have looked for dinosaur bones, but I have
I
no
haven't
idea
found
where to find them.
No, not yet.
I haven't found any.
No, like that's such a hard thing because I
Yeah.
thought that would be such a cool side mission to do, and I can't find them anywhere.
There are a lot of cool little interesting things. I just wanted to talk about those in general.
Yeah.
My other big sticking point is that the things that they do for realism are really well done, but they're the best way I can describe it is like if you're going for realism. So you want to eat, your hair grows in real time. If you want a different hairstyle, you got to grow it out first and then cut it. Like, love that. It's cool. Yeah. If you want to do that, do that. But they don't do it all the way. And if you're going to make it so close and then not do it all the way, then it makes it that much worse. You know what I'm saying?
Like you could taste it.
Because then you go to the horse stables.
They didn't go all the way.
You go to the horse stables, and you can give your horse long hair, even if it's short.
Oh,
and it's like... These are such minor gripes, but they're not, because that's what the game's trading in, is we want to make the most realistic experience possible, and then you're allowing little things like that.
Yeah.
That's the kind of shit that I'm like...
Well, they feed you expectations, and you're like, oh, well, I can do this, then I expect to be able to do this, and you're like, oh, well.
Or in a story mission, you can't stray too far away from the character. And it's like, I get it, that's video games, and I give a pass to 95% of them. But when you're making the game where you can do anything, and you can do this, and it's realism, it shows more. You know,
that's where my number one gripe was, at least up until this point in the game, where it is that sort of like, wait a second, so I have all this choice, and then I don't, and it's just that sort of tug and pull where you're just like, if you are going to tell that story, just stick with it. Don't play around. I don't know.
So it's tough though because, like I said, I do like the realism stuff. I do like that.
Have you noticed the sunshine stuff?
What do you mean?
Like if you face the sun in a certain way, like you know how if your sun comes through the cartilage of your ear, it gets bright red. It's the same thing in the game, and nose cartilage too.
That's so weird.
It's pretty realistic in that sense, which I thought was super cool, but. Again, no, continue.
What I was going to say is...
It was just something on the realism, it just popped into my head, and I was like, oh, remember that? And I was like, I should say something.
The thing that I wanted to say is that, like, I do like its slow pace. I do like its slow-moving Arthur. I do like that you have to ride everywhere, and you do unlock fast travel eventually, but...
Well, I know you can get into Stagecoach and, like, pay for it or buy a train
I don't use any of that because, like you said, I actually enjoy that
I enjoyed riding.
Not only do I enjoy the... It's almost as enjoyable when you don't come across anybody because you're always thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it does do a good job.
Yeah, the next sound. Ooh, did I hear something?
It does do a good job of continuously, like, making you think about where you're going and making you conscientious of what's around you without beating you over the head with it.
How many horses have you guys gone through? Do you continuously buy horses? Or?
I have one horse. I named him Max because my dog's name is Max. I grew his hair long, and he has a pink mohawk. And I take care of him with my life.
Was it when you went for the mission in the beginning?
The first horse you get to buy.
Was it the cheap little brown horse?
The first horse you can buy, Is that the one? Yep.
I bought that one, and I just got out of that horse because I just couldn't take it anymore because I maxed him out and he still sucked.
He's slow, yeah.
It was terrible.
I have 4 different horses.
What'd you name? That's the only horse you have? I named them.
I love Max.
Primero and Segundo. So first and second. But I thought they were cool names at the time. I was like, how am I going to remember what order I bought these horses in? I was like, this will be an easy way to do it.
Wait, the horses go faster?
Well, you can buy a
different breeds have different stats.
Yeah, they have different.
So I have a racehorse, I have a war horse, and I have like a just everyday horse.
You start with like 2 of them to begin with, I think, but then you go and buy this because you like trade it in. You could sell them, but you sell them for like $6 or something like that.
I've had 3 instances where I was so scared that Max almost died. Sometimes because of the controls, you're just riding, and then like there's a tree, and then you fall into the tree. And I thought my horse died like on 3 occasions.
Here's 2 comparisons.
The ragdoll is insane.
Yeah, exactly.
It's absolutely crazy. But I want to say this, and I'm only going to compare it to Breath of the Wild real quick in 2 aspects. I love what they took from them. If you ride up into the mountain, it's cold. You better bring your warm gear.
Yes.
Love it. But the freaking fact that I can't turn around and shoot at people on my horse, and my horse doesn't know to not run into a tree, is insane.
I know.
That's insane. Like, the horse is that stupid? Like, come on.
I know.
That kills me.
Yeah,
how many times I'm like,
sure.
I'm turning around, I'm doing this badass shooting from behind, and then boom, I hit a tree in the middle of a field. Like, it drives me nuts.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's
That's part of the fiddly
have,
controls, though, you know what I mean? Like, the controls are not great.
Because, like, they have this perfect thing where you just hold A and you follow somebody, you keep pace. Like, they have all these great horse attributes. And then
put that on the back of your box. Great horse attributes.
But that just one aspect drives me crazy because there's so many times where I run into that same
Same issue,
situation, you know, where like I'm getting chased from behind, and instead of outrunning them because my horse sucked, you know, like I had to turn around and fight him.
I love you, Max. I'm sticking with you, buddy.
I just want to say one more thing, and then we're going to take a quick break again. Big thing that I enjoy, and I don't know how many missions you guys have come across where you can do this, but the way they let you choose what you do in a situation. Like, there are certain missions where it's like, you'll be going with somebody and it'll be like, all right, Arthur, do you want me to take the lead or you want to take the lead?
Oh, do you like that?
I love that.
Yeah,
they
love
do
it.
that in really interesting ways in a lot of missions, and it's so fucking cool. I absolutely love that.
Love that as well.
All right, so guys, we're going to talk kind of final thoughts. Anything you want to say that we didn't say? Anything that comes to mind that you want to touch on?
Quick question. Have any of you played Red Dead Revolver?
No.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Does it have anything to do with them? No. Just kind of like...
It's interesting in its own way, but
It was like a Western game that they made, and then they were like, we can make this pretty cool. Let's make Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, the stuff around that's pretty complicated, but it's certainly not, has anything to do with this.
Since we're at similar spots right now, how much do you hate John Marston?
He's a baby.
He's a big baby douchebag, and I can't stand him. Like,
Well, which makes me appreciate, but like I appreciate that they did that because I think.
Well, I'm sure he turns around and.
Because like I went into it being like, oh, John Marston's the coolest guy ever.
Yeah.
How are they gonna make make this guy Arthur Morgan cooler? And the way they did that was they made John Marston a complete ass.
Well, they basically have like a sibling rivalry.
Yeah.
It's like how you got to think about it. 'Cause they're both like taken in by Dutch and Jose.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know, when they first started talking about it, I was like, are they actually like brothers? Like, in my head, I was like, they kind of word it that way, and then I'm like, nah, it's just got to be a gang thing, you know, like gang affiliation. But like, I'll walk through the camp sometimes, and you know, I can just hear people arguing, like, him and his wife or girlfriend are constantly screaming at each other, and the kid's like just off doing nothing.
Right, he abandoned his son. He doesn't like talk to him.
Yeah, and like all that stuff. And I haven't gotten too far into it. Like, I don't know why he ran away or anything.
Well, they kind of hint that he, even where you guys are, they kind of hint that he like doesn't admit that it's his kid. Like he's you know what I mean?
They
like,
had mentioned that in passing, and it like.
And they mentioned that he like disappeared from the gang
for like
a
while.
Yeah. So I don't know.
So yes, I'm with you on that one.
I love the whole. Now you know why he's got those awesome scars, though.
Yeah, there you go.
Cool.
Yeah.
That was a little for me. It was a little.
little much. You going to save him from wolves?
Do we have to see that? Like, it just leave something to the imagination.
I have to say, I wasn't anticipating seeing John Marston so early in this game. Considering it's a prequel, I was like, oh, maybe he'll come in later, and you're like, oh, this would be a cool thing. Yeah, I love the way they do it. You go save. They just say John, so like I was just thinking John. Right. There's got to be a million people named John in the West.
It was him.
You know, and it was him, and I was like, cool. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Because
it was early.
Do you still feel so? You know, I know I was talking to Dan about this when he was texting me my thoughts. You know, I feel like I'm at such a plateau right now where I'm just kind of like going through going through the ropes. Mm-hmm. I still feel that motivation to get to the next step. Yeah.
Well, I have to say, like, it's not like I love the story, and the same thing. Like, as soon as we're done, I'll probably go play for another hour or two. Mm-hmm. You know, like I haven't reached a point whatsoever where I'm like, oh, this is boring. You know, like I don't like doing this because, again, I kind of like the boring stuff. I love hunting and I love fishing and gambling, which you could do and not get anywhere with. Right, you know, like, especially when you're gambling like 10 cents at a time sometimes. And you're like, this search. I won $8 in the past 3 days. Nice. Like, it serves no purpose. Nice. You know?
The economy in that game is totally out of whack.
Oh, it's absolutely crazy.
Well, by the end, you just have money that you have nowhere to spend.
Okay, good.
I already have more money than I should.
What's the highest bounty you guys have had?
I don't really get much of a bounty.
Oh my God, $300 I had to spend a bounty after that mission with Micah that's in the first or second chapter where you go in, you like break him out of jail.
Strawberry?
In Strawberry, and he just shoots everybody up. I leave there, $300 bounty. And I had like $250 to my name at the time.
Yeah, I must have paid that off.
Oh, it was crazy.
I mean, you have to do that mission.
But I heard early, like I could have sworn, not even heard, but those little black boxes that sucked because you have to try and read them while you're playing the game.
Oh, yes.
But those are horrible. Sucked. But I could have sworn it said like either pay off a bounty or wait till it kind of dissipates on its own. They don't dissipate whatsoever. So I guess I just made that up in brief thing.
Speaking of Micah, he is a perfect example of a Rockstar character that sucks.
Yeah. Well, he's just the worst anyway.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? he's a bad dude and he has no characterization. He's
Yeah.
just a
I'm just a
asshole.
bad-
No
You know what I
place to
mean?
be in there. Yeah,
I
yeah.
fucking hate that. That's such a lazy
Yeah.
fucking.
You save him, and then he's like, I'm not going to go back without a token of appreciation sort
Yeah.
of thing. You're like, good, fucking leave. I don't want
He
to see you
sucks.
anyway. Yeah.
He sucks. My Arthur Morgan would have killed him in Strawberry.
But see, this is the thing too. This is what so he's so bad, and automatically Arthur Morgan's interactions with him or anybody like him are already like, you know, oh well, you're a jerk. You know, I'm not gonna like pay attention to you. So they already like hint to you that, oh, Arthur Morgan, you're a good guy. Like, you know, you're not you are not a
You're not
Micah.
so bad. Yeah.
But yet then you still do these quests that have you be this terrible.
Well,
Yeah, but yeah.
the idea is,
He redeemed himself. Right?
well, yeah. I mean, that's a major theme of the game. But what I'm saying is, like, when Dutch was running with this gang, they used to give to people that needed help. They used to like do things like that
The
as a
Robin Hood
way,
sort of.
yeah. And in reality, it's a justification for Dutch because he's a bad dude that doesn't really want anything except for his own self.
I mean, but how many times have you seen that in movies before too, where people are doing bad things, but it's under a guy that got them out of poverty or
Right, no,
orphanage?
true,
You know,
yeah,
like you
yeah.
see that a lot of
Yeah.
the time. So it's like you understand why these characters, like John,
It's like
how we
Oliver
were just saying, they got
in
picked
Finnegan.
up. Exactly, but they got picked up at a young age and shown by this father figure how to do things a certain way, so they do it, and it's justified in their sense.
That's the life
you
they know. Also,
Exactly.
I get what you're saying, and I agree
Yeah.
with it. But
All
like
right,
I said, the story does a very good job at tackling that, and
I got more to play. I'm only 13%.
Yeah,
Gosh.
and I do think it's interesting that you see right away that Dutch is just like a charismatic, manipulative, bad guy.
Right.
But you can understand why people would rally behind him that don't have much else. You know,
Oh, right. He's very
Like the one, the old Driscoll kid, or not kid, but that you
Kieran.
get at, yeah, Kieran, and you're just like constantly harping on him, like calling him
Yeah.
O'Driscoll, and he's like, "No, I'm not an O'Driscoll. Like,
Yeah.
I have no affiliation with them." Yada yada. But he still follows, like the gang now, and
because he doesn't have much to do.
Yeah,
and
he's
he
got nothing
feels
else to
he
do.
owes-
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah. Anything
Yeah.
else for you guys?
I still feel like the game right now, yeah, and I don't know if this is going to change. I still feel in a way it's too big for its own good.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, other people I talk to be like, oh, what are you talking, like, oh my gosh, no, it's amazing all the things that you can do. Yes, that's true. But as a guy, like we were saying, like story driven, like you're trying to tell a story, I feel like that open worldness in a way, it's just
hinders your experience.
It's a little
in
bit too
some way.
much.
But you don't have to engage with it. you know?
Yeah, that's the thing.
I mean,
That's
so-
I was just about to say the same thing. It's like, but then you have the option.
That's
which I
just
think
more.
is fantastic,
Yeah, that's just more
you
for the
know?
people that want more.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't really do a lot of that.
Yeah.
There were certain side quest links, or what would you call them? Like quest chains, pretty much, where it's like, I don't really like that character. I met this photographer, this nature photographer guy,
Yeah, yeah.
and I'm like, a terrible character. Like has no. He's just
Coyote
one
like
note.
steals his meat
I'm
or
like,
something stupid.
I don't like him. I'm not gonna do his quest, and I just didn't do it.
Wait, so you don't have to do the yellow quests?
Yellow quest you have to do. I'm talking
He
about
was a
quest.
white quest. He
Oh,
was
But the
like
yellow
the
quest
question mark under a
move the
white
story
cloud.
forward. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Like,
right.
They're not the open worldness, the vastness that this game is. If you just played Yellow Quest, you probably maybe take 30 hours, which is still huge, but it's all the stuff, all the trappings around it that are as much as you want to engage with them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
One thing that traps me a lot, and it's one aspect I really like because similar to Ni no Kuni 2 with like your kingdom building, I love having that like home base that you can
Right.
upgrade.
Yeah,
like
put all
that's
your stuff in and-
that's a thing in a game that
Like
just
I said,
hooks me immediately.
The
I'm like, and you probably don't
the
even
economy
need
is out
to
of whack
do it
because
you know?
I had all that stuff maxed out by
doesn't
like
even
chapter
matter.
4. I
Yeah.
mean, it does the things that it says it's going to
Yeah,
do.
like
but
get
it's not
you.
like,
You could get ammo at your camp
It's
and
just
stuff like
funny
that.
where it's like,
Yeah.
all right, I guess that's it. I'm
Yeah.
halfway through the
Yeah,
game
like
and
when
I
you bomb
bought
your horse, like
everything.
in
Yeah.
the first 2 hours, and you're just like, well, me and my horse are best friends. Like, we're good now.
I just didn't know what to do. I was trying to like put stuff out, and so like anytime I would get like gold watches and stuff like that,
That's what I did.
donate it to the box and stuff like that. And I made sure every time I went out for a mission, when I was coming back, I'd hunt a big animal and I'd bring it in for stew. You know,
I
was
did
just
that. I
doing
did that
sort
too
of thing.
when
you know?
I started, and then I
and then
stopped
I'm
hunting.
having such a problem getting perfect pelts though. Like it's so hard.
You got to read about the animals in the compendium
Yeah. Oh yeah.
because
yeah,
they all,
definitely.
but they
have
all
different
need.
things.
There's two things. One is you need a specific gun to get a perfect pelt. For
I
each-
use the bow for a while.
no. But what I'm saying is some of them if you use a bow, you can't get a perfect.
Oh.
Like, that's what I'm saying. If you dig into it, it'll say, like, a varmint rifle will get you a perfect pelt for that fox or whatever.
Oh, yeah, because the smaller things like the squirrels and stuff are, like, super tough.
Yeah, so the varmint rifle is meant for that. There's, like, the long scoped rifles are meant for certain other things. And it's like, you know, again, the usability and the accessibility is awful in this game, and they don't do a good job at surfacing any of this. And you have to dig through 10 menus. It sucks. Yeah. But it is in there, and it will... The other thing is each animal has a rating of its own. So you could just be hunting a poor animal. You know what I mean? Like, it
might suck itself.
Yeah, like it has. If you study it,
no matter what
it has
you do.
a rating. So you need to find like a good whatever, and then get it with the right weapon.
Oh man,
that's what I'm saying. It's so detailed,
so much,
but it's as much as you want. I didn't really do a lot of hunting.
Yeah,
I did it in a similar way to what Shelby's saying, where I did it to feed the camp in the beginning. And then once I realized I could just keep buying stuff, I'm like, I don't want to fucking... I didn't really want to hunt.
What happens if you don't feed the camp?
I was just role-playing.
They're not going to die.
They probably yell at you or something.
Yeah, they just always comment on it and they'll talk about
Did you notice you could like miss some side missions and stuff like that too?
Yeah, what I will say as a warning to people is if there are white missions that you want to do them before the end of the chapter.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Because I noticed it and I totally skipped on it and like didn't even think about it. When you first, like I said, that mission earlier where you drop the ladies off in Valentine, and she goes in, she's like, oh, I got this info on a bank or whatever, like doing the stuff. And I was like, oh, that's super cool, but you don't have to do it right away. And then I helped out the other girl who a guy was like harassing her. And then you go back and she's like, hey, we're going to do that bank thing or whatever. And I was like, no, I got this other thing to do. And then we left that chapter and went down to the south. And she was like, oh, it's a shame we never did that bank thing. And I was like, God damn, I totally forgot about it. And then I was like, that's a missed opportunity, you know?
So, I won't say too much, but that instance that you just quoted is particularly interesting because it ties into a story mission.
Oh,
like
cool.
You didn't actually have a choice in that.
Oh, I didn't.
But there are side missions where you do have a choice
you
to
could
do
totally
them or not,
miss
and you
out.
can totally miss it.
Cool.
Anything else from you guys?
I mean, again, we haven't finished yet, and you haven't quite finished yet. So definitely just scoping out the world. I've been running all around it, I've been pushing my luck in some spaces, seeing like, oh, well, if it's this realistic, let me see if I can give this a shot, see what happens. And like, I'll go rob some people, and then all of a sudden they're waiting in a caravan on the road for me, like in the middle of the dark. And all of a sudden I'm riding, and then boom, like it blows up, my horse goes flying, I'm laying on the ground, and they're like, get this guy. And then the bounties are on my back, and I'm like, this is hard. What just happened? I was riding home with a squirrel pelt. You know, like, but no, I'm very much enjoying it so far, despite the gripes that I've had in the through the tutorial phase and stuff like that. Very extremely slow beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really it. I just feel like it's a long trudge, but yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm still motivated to keep going with it. I really like it.
I would say there are pacing issues. You guys, like I said a couple times now, you're about to hit one of my favorite sections. And then there's a lot of nonsense, and then I really, really enjoy the way it wrapped up. The other thing I want to say is comparing it to the original is super unfair to the original because it does not age well. But the thing I will say is I'm glad that the takeaways from the original Red Dead were, hey, the ending of Red Dead Redemption is very good.
Yeah.
Let's make a game more like that. Because honestly,
it was great.
That's kind of how this game feels. Is like it's thoughtful in a way the first game wasn't. Because there was a lot of bad shit in the first game. Honestly, there was a lot of bad, like, this feels more like the way Red Dead ended than the actual playthrough of the game.
That's so funny, because honestly, replaying Red Dead, whenever I did, the only part that, like, I really, because when everybody says, oh, should I play the original? I'm like, oh, man, the ending's amazing. That's really it. That's what I love about it.
So at that time, it did a lot of things that games weren't doing, and I think it impressed us more than it was actually a good piece of media. Because when you go back and you see some of the racism and some of the terrible, but like when I say racism, I don't mean because on one hand it was bad racism when they were playing it for laughs, which is terrible, but it was also just inanely racist in that both of the Mexican leaders in Mexico were fucking terrible. You know what I mean? Like it was just bad.
Exactly.
It's not a good. It's not a good. I look back on that game and I'm like, I really gave that game too much credit because it did something new, and I think we have to be careful. I have to be more thoughtful about, am I impressed by this because it's just new and different?
True. Yeah,
or am I actually enjoying it for what it is?
Right.
So now I can confidently say, having almost beaten this game, that I think this game stands on its own on the basis of I really enjoyed the story in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would definitely say it's one of my favorite games of the year.
Yeah, no, me too.
For sure.
I'm interested in how Game of the Year is going to come because honestly, I feel like there's been quite a lot.
It's gonna be fucking crazy.
Between all these, a lot of indie games, especially.
Yeah, we got to get Shelby playing some indie games.
Yeah, you got those.
For Game of the Year.
I'm coming off all of us are coming off the back of Spider-Man as well. And then
already God of War, Spider-Man, and Red Dead.
Those are the three bigs.
Yeah.
But I would say before Game of the Year, Shelby's got to play some of these indie games.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely
This
get
year
into it.
in particular has been phenomenal.
Yeah, it really has.
You said that last year.
I mean, last year was also phenomenal.
It kind of is
Holy
weird,
moly,
though, that this year seems really kind of crazy. It's
Yeah.
freaking me out thinking about how we're going to wrap down to 10. But anyway, let's end this podcast. I have a couple of little things I wanted to touch on, but we're going to just forego that. Only thing I'll say is the fandom around the Diablo Immortal backlash, they can all go fuck themselves. These stupid people that have such an outcry for this game that has nothing to do with the Diablo game they want. It's not the same team. I just don't understand people sometimes. I don't understand. I talked earlier about Undertale and its fandom. The stuff I've seen here around this Diablo thing, it just boggles my mind. But that's all I'm going to say about that. Cool news for Smash Brothers. Piranha Plant's going to be a playable character. That's pretty fucking awesome. Also, a huge slap in the face to Waluigi that they made Piranha Plant a character before Waluigi.
And it was, I think I sent you guys a while back there, like the cover got leaked and it looked like Banjo and Kazooie, but I think it's the Duck Hunt dog and bird.
It was
right?
a trick,
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, that's going to do it. This has been episode 44 of the Circle Back Podcast. Happy that, it's now the three amigos back here. We're going to figure out the seating situation and the recording situation. We got to program Dan to stop looking at people while he talks. But until next time, peace. What's up, guys? It's Dan from Circle Back. I'm just here to let you know you can find everything that we do at circlebackgaming.com. If you just want the podcast, we're on iTunes. If you just want the video, we're on YouTube. So catch us either place. Thanks.